Welcome back everyone, and thanks for joining today's deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, a story that hooks collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And today we're exploring the incredible tale behind the 1972 1-cent coin that some believe could command a jaw-dropping value of $56 million due to its remarkable errors, bizarre minting anomalies, and the fascinating possibilities that surround its creation. So get comfortable, because we're about to unpack how a simple penny from 1972, a coin most people wouldn't think twice about, has the potential to be worth life-changing money, and why collectors across the world search tirelessly for the rare characteristics that can propel an otherwise ordinary cent into the realm of numismatic legend as we step back into the era of early 1970s America, where the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins, including the 1972 Lincoln cent, and imagine a bustling mint facility handling massive volumes of planchets, dies, and machinery, each movement creating opportunities for unusual mechanical mishaps. And while most coins exit the presses clean and uniform, some slip through with surprising varieties, doubled impressions, misaligned elements, off-metal strikes, and other rare occurrences that spark intrigue decades later, because when a coin displays an error severe enough, unusual enough, or rare enough, collectors place enormous value on it, not only for its rarity, but for the story it tells about a small moment in minting history where something didn't go according to plan. And the 1972 cent is especially famous because it's one of the most widely recognized double die series among Lincoln cents, with the 1972 double die obverse being one of the most iconic error coins in American numismatics, known for extremely strong doubling visible on the date, the inscriptions, and the motto, giving the coin an unmistakable appearance that leaps out even to casual observers. And while many know the major double die variety, what many people don't realize is that the 1972 cent has dozens of different double die varieties, each created through slight variations in the die preparation process, and only a small fraction of these are valuable enough to command extraordinary prices. And in the world of speculation and high-end collecting, stories begin to circulate about a unique or extraordinary specimen, perhaps the rarest of all 1972 errors, a coin theoretically capable of reaching tens of millions of dollars if proven authentic, one that may combine multiple errors in the same coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that cannot be replicated. And the thought of this possibility ignites enormous interest, because when coins are evaluated, it's often not just the presence of an error but the combination of errors that can multiply a coin's desirability exponentially, especially if the error is from a major early doubling variety paired with unusual off-metal striking, dramatic die detachment, extreme misalignment, or even previously undocumented characteristics that emerge only when collectors meticulously examine the few surviving examples left in circulation or hidden away in private collections. And considering that millions of 1972 cents were minted at a time when minting technology was transitioning and equipment inconsistencies occurred periodically, it isn't surprising that several categories of errors and oddities from that year have gained notoriety, such as the dramatic double die obverse, where inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust show powerful separation lines that make the letters appear as if they're slightly echoed, a sign of hub doubling from the die-making process. And this distinctive doubling is considered one of the strongest and most attractive in the entire Lincoln series, so much so that dedicated collectors often chase these coins relentlessly, willing to pay enormous amounts for pristine specimens. But beyond the main double die variety, one can imagine encountering a coin that displays far more than just doubling, perhaps a coin struck on the wrong planchet, like one intended for a dime or a foreign coin, resulting in weight anomalies or differences in metallic composition. And these off-metal strikes are extremely rare, especially when combined with doubling, and when a coin shows a dramatic clash mark, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting fragments of the opposite design onto each face. It can also significantly increase value, and such a clash, if severe enough, could create ghost-like outlines across the coin that collectors find mesmerizing. And when a coin has a misaligned die, causing the design to shift off-center, it introduces yet another intriguing layer, because dramatic misalignments are treasured by many collectors for their uniqueness. And consider the possibility that a 1972 cent might contain multiple severe errors at once, such as strong obverse doubling, reverse misalignment, die cracks streaking across Lincoln's portrait or through the memorial building, planchet irregularities from improper mixing or rolling of the metal sheet, creating streaky or wood grain-like surfaces known as Lincoln woodies, an appearance caused by improper alloy blending. And these wood grain effects can sometimes elevate a coin's desirability further, especially when combined with other rare errors. And while these standalone errors can already fetch impressive sums at auctions, the cumulative effect of several errors on one single coin could push its value into the stratosphere, making it a candidate for mythical valuations like $56 million if it were a unique specimen, the kind that appears once in a lifetime and becomes the crown jewel of advanced collections or museum showcases. And collectors are driven by the idea that such coins might still be hidden, perhaps sitting unnoticed in a jar, buried in an attic box, or tucked away in an old drawer by someone who had no idea what they possessed, waiting to be rediscovered decades later. And the fascination with the 1972 cent deepens when you consider that many double die varieties from that year were discovered gradually over time, not all at once, because some varieties were extremely subtle and not documented until years later. So who's to say an even rarer one hasn't yet surfaced, one that could rewrite the known catalog of 1972 errors and send shockwaves through the numismatic world? And when imagining such a coin, one must consider the extreme rarity required to push its value into the tens of millions, something beyond the typical doubling. Perhaps a coin struck on a planchet intended for a foreign denomination, a coin struck twice with heavy rotation between strikes leading to dramatic overlapping designs, a coin with extraordinary die cracks forming a spiderweb pattern, a coin with a massive retained cut where a portion of the die nearly broke off and left a huge raised bubble of metal on the coin's surface, or even a coin that combines a rotated die of 90 degrees or more with deep hub doubling and a misaligned strike, creating an appearance so bizarre that it becomes instantly recognizable as unique. And when collectors dream about one-of-a-kind specimens, they often imagine coins that bring together features never seen before, items that spark bidding wars between serious investors, historians, and museums. And the idea of a 1972 cent being worth $56 million fits into this world of extraordinary possibility. And even though most 1972 cents today are only worth face value, it's the rarest exceptions, the ones with dramatic and extremely unusual errors, that drive the legend. And when we think about how such a coin might have come into existence, we imagine a small moment at the mint where human error, machine stress, worn equipment, timing inconsistencies, and the sheer volume of production all converge to produce one impossible, spectacular coin, minted in a brief instant and accidentally released into circulation. And what makes this even more exciting is how such coins often go unnoticed for decades because most people don't examine their pennies closely, and many simply assume all cents are the same. But collectors know better, and they know that history's greatest discoveries have often come from ordinary people casually sorting through pocket change. And when imagining this mythical $56 million penny, one begins to understand why collectors check carefully for features like doubling on the date, clear separation on the letters of liberty and in God we trust, extreme die wear causing mushy or distorted devices, die polishing lines appearing like tiny scratches under magnification, misalignment of the zinc core if the coin were struck during an experimental transitional period, unusual coloration or surface anomalies indicating a wrong alloy mixture, or even microscopic design shifts revealing previously unknown die varieties. And the more one explores the world of 1972 cent varieties, the more it becomes evident that this year is one of the richest in numismatic mysteries, with countless possibilities waiting to be discovered, making the pursuit incredibly thrilling for hobbyists and professionals alike. And it's this thrill that keeps the legend of the $56 million penny alive, because while such a value may seem extreme, it is rooted in the very real pattern of extraordinary prices achieved by extremely rare coins, especially when the coin possesses a narrative powerful enough to captivate the imagination of collectors worldwide. And as we reflect on the hypothetical scenarios, dramatic minting mistakes, layered errors, and unique qualities that could push the value of a 1972 cent into astronomical territory. Next. Today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, a story that begins with what most people would see as a completely ordinary piece of pocket change but ends with a staggering and almost unbelievable estimated value of $37 million. And yes, we are talking about the 1985 D1 cent coin, a little copper-coated piece of metal struck at the Denver Mint that has become the center of rumors, fascination, collector obsession, and speculation. Due to a combination of mistakes, errors, striking anomalies, minting inconsistencies, transitional possibilities, and all the strange circumstances that can transform a simple penny into something that collectors whisper about with a mix of curiosity and excitement. And today we're going to unravel all of it in this extremely deep, detailed, continuous exploration. So sit tight because we're about to walk through the full journey of why a 1985 D penny could ever be discussed in the same breath as multimillion-dollar treasures. And to fully understand why, we have to go all the way back to how these coins were manufactured, What went wrong? What could have gone wrong? What might exist out there undiscovered? And how these possibilities open the door to insane valuations. So first imagine the United States Mint in 1985. Still in the newer era of producing copper-plated zinc cents after the transition away from pure copper in 1982, meaning that the 1985 D1 cent coin was made from a zinc core with a thin copper coating, and any small deviation during the minting process, whether in planchet preparation, striking pressure, die polishing, die deterioration, feeder finger contact marks, plating issues, or unexpected mechanical shifts, could result in an error coin. And error coins are the heart of this entire discussion because what transforms a humble penny into something worth life-changing money is not the everyday regular strike but the rare, dramatic, visually stunning, unexpected mint mistakes that collectors spend years searching for. And when it comes to 1985 D, various types of errors have been reported, rumored, theorized, or documented, creating a swirling cloud of possibility around what might still be hidden in rolls, jars, or collections. And these include off-center strikes that show Lincoln's portrait shifted drastically from the center of the coin, broad strikes where the collar was missing and the metal spread out beyond its typical boundary, die cracks that look like raised lines exploding across the coin like tiny lightning bolts, die breaks that create blobs of extra metal known as cuds, double die obverse or reverse varieties where elements of the coin appear double due to slight misalignments in the die creation process, and striking errors like double strikes, triple strikes, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely. And while many 1985 D pennies are ordinary, the tiny fraction that contain major, dramatic, visually obvious mistakes are the ones that can command incredible prices. And the theory that a specific, unique, extreme, previously unreported error from this year and mint could be worth tens of millions is rooted in examples from other years where certain coins, sometimes because of a once-in-a-lifetime minting accident, have achieved extraordinary value due to being one-of-a-kind pieces of history. And what makes the 1985 D penny particularly fascinating is the combination of its plating process, its zinc interior, and the era of transition minting quality, because zinc cents are known for blistering, peeling, split plating, exposed zinc patches, and other abnormalities that collectors are constantly debating, studying, and photographing. And one of the most dramatic possibilities for huge value comes from the rare case of a 1985 D cent struck on the wrong planchet, for example a dime planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or even an experimental test piece. And coins like these have historically fetched astronomical prices because of their rarity and dramatic visual differences. And then there are double denomination strikes where a coin blank intended for one denomination is accidentally struck using the dies of another, creating bizarre hybrid coins that serious collectors consider the holy grail of mint errors. And if such an error existed for the 1985 D cent and remained hidden today, the value could easily skyrocket beyond anything typical collectors might expect. And then we get into the realm of double dies, one of the most intensely studied types of mint errors, where lettering, dates, or design elements appear duplicated due to misalignment during the die hubbing process. And if a dramatic, bold double die exists for the 1985 D and is currently unknown or extremely rare, collectors would battle fiercely to own it, pushing the price into the millions. Just like what has happened with famous double die coins from other years. And even though many varieties of minor doubling are known, the possibility of a major, dramatic variety that has only surfaced in rumors or isolated examples continues to fuel speculation and excitement. And then there is the matter of mint state condition, because even without major errors, a perfectly struck, pristine, untouched, high-grade 1985 D cent could be worth significantly more than face value due to its rarity at the highest grading levels. But when you combine a stunning error with an exceptionally high grade, the value multiplies dramatically. And this is where the conversation about a $37 million valuation begins to emerge, because imagine a theoretical situation where a single known example exists of a dramatic, visually shocking mint error on a 1985 D penny, such as a double denomination strike where the coin shows both Lincoln and elements of another denomination, or a large off-center double strike with extreme clarity, or a wrong planchet strike on a rare metal, or a massive die break that creates a unique shape unlike any other known coin. And if this one-of-a-kind specimen were to emerge in the collecting world, it could become the centerpiece of international auction bidding, museum interest, private collector rivalry, and historical significance, driving the price into the stratosphere. And the idea of this theoretical $37 million valuation reflects the extreme upper end of rare era pricing, because when an object is unique, visually dramatic, historically fascinating, and tied to a specific minting anomaly that can never be replicated, Collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay amounts that seem unimaginable to the average person, and the world of coin collecting is full of examples where coins once considered ordinary were later discovered to contain rare varieties that completely changed their value, which leads to the constant speculation that unusual pennies from the 1980s, especially those involving Denver Mint errors, could someday produce one of the most valuable finds in modern numismatics. And then there's the mystery factor that always surrounds coins from this era, because mint reporting at the time was not as transparent as it is today, and certain error coins may have left the mint unnoticed, mixed into rolls, bags, or circulation channels, meaning the possibility remains that extraordinary error coins could still be hidden in private hands, old change jars, collections stored in boxes, or coin rolls sitting untouched in drawers. And collectors love this idea because it fuels the treasure hunt mentality that drives so much enthusiasm in the hobby. And when people hear that a coin as simple as a 1985 D penny could be worth millions, it sparks curiosity, excitement, and the dream that anyone could stumble upon a life-changing piece of history. And part of what makes the valuation so emotionally powerful is the concept of rarity layered with error complexity, because the more dramatic the error, the higher the rarity, and the higher the rarity, the higher the value, especially if the coin is the only one known or one of only a tiny number. And when we discuss the potential for extreme mint errors on a coin like this, we enter a world where collectors are not just buying metal but buying history, story, rarity, mystery, and prestige, and this is what drives prices to extraordinary levels. And another layer of fascination comes from the zinc composition itself. Because zinc scents are infamous for plating issues, surface bubbles, cracks caused by exposure, and internal corrosion, meaning that finding a pristine example with a major error that has survived without damage is even rarer, and rarity stacked on rarity creates explosive value potential. And collectors also speculate that certain transitional planchet errors could exist if leftover copper planchets from earlier years were accidentally mixed into 1985 production, and while no such example has been authenticated publicly, even the possibility excites collectors and pushes theoretical valuations higher. And then there are rumors from within the collecting community about yet-to-be-confirmed errors from 1985 D, including die pairs that may have produced subtle but important varieties, and while many of these remain unverified, they contribute to the cloud of mystery that surrounds this particular coin, making it even more interesting for collectors who dream of discovering a hidden treasure. And part of the fascination also lies in the historical context of 1985, a time when the U.S. Mint was still adjusting to the production challenges of copper-plated zinc planchets, which introduced new problems such as weak strikes, plating defects, machinery alignment issues, and unexpected interactions between dies and planchets. And any of these factors could have created dramatic or extreme errors under the right circumstances. And when people talk about the $37 million valuation today we are exploring the astonishing cases of the 1972 and 1972 D1 cent coins that collectors say can reach mind-blowing values of $56 million and $41 million thanks to the wide range of errors, mistakes, unusual minting possibilities, accidental anomalies, and rare production quirks that have made these simple Lincoln cents some of the most talked about pieces in numismatic circles. And as we welcome you into this deep dive, we'll unravel how a coin that usually passes through hands unnoticed could suddenly transform into a treasure worth more than mansions, luxury cars, and even high-end investments. And the story begins with understanding why the 1972 1 cent stands out not only for being a product of its time but also for the extraordinary doubling that occurred during the minting process, where the doubling on the obverse became one of the most dramatic in U.S. mint history, creating clear, bold, and unmistakable doubled inscriptions that collectors crave because such doubling is not subtle or barely visible but actually strong enough that even someone with little experience can detect features like doubled letters on Liberty, "In God We Trust," and the date itself. And because this strong doubling error was created during a specific moment when dies were improperly aligned or struck with incorrect settings, it means only a tiny portion of coins contain this dramatic visual shift. And whenever rarity meets demand, the value skyrockets, especially when the coin remains in pristine or near pristine condition, since scratches, dents, discoloration, or wear drastically diminish collector interest, making high-grade examples extremely rare and thus extremely valuable. But the value does not only come from doubling, because the 1972 1 cent can also feature off-center strikes where the design shifts away from the center due to misalignment between the die and the blank planchet, creating appearances where part of the coin is blank and part shows the image. And depending on how far off-center the strike occurred, the rarity can increase tremendously, with collectors especially valuing coins where the off-center percentage is significant yet still retains the full date, because if the date remains visible the coin becomes identifiable, certifiable, traceable, and therefore dramatically more valuable on the open market, pushing its potential worth higher and higher. And then there are broad-stroke errors where the coin spreads beyond its normal circular boundary due to faulty collar placement during minting, giving the penny a stretched, enlarged, or distorted edge that is highly unusual and instantly noticeable. And while many mint errors go unnoticed in circulation, broad-stroke coins often stand out immediately because their appearance differs so drastically from a standard penny, making collectors eager to obtain them, especially in mint state condition, which further enhances their inherent rarity. And another reason the 1972 cent can reach such tremendous values is die cracks and die breaks, small or large raised lines or blobs of metal caused by deteriorating dies that continued striking coins even after showing signs of wear or damage, and these cracks can form raised patterns across Lincoln's bust, through the fields of the coin, across lettering, or even near the rim, and when the die eventually breaks, it can create a cud, a missing portion of the design replaced by a blob of metal that forms due to the void in the die face. And such cuds are highly collectible, especially when they appear in precise, unusual, or dramatic locations, and some collectors will pay extraordinary amounts for cuds paired with doubling or other errors, creating a combination that is almost never seen again, and this combination rarity can give birth to valuations in the millions, especially when accompanied by perfect or near-perfect preservation. And that is only part of the story, because the 1972 D1 cent, minted in Denver, has its own remarkable set of error possibilities, and although the Denver Mint typically had tighter quality control, it was not immune to mechanical failures, die deterioration, planchet errors, or striking mistakes that produced some of the most fascinating and valuable error pennies in existence, and the 1972 D cent, rumored to reach values as high as $41 million, does so primarily due to the rare combination of dramatic mint mistakes that create truly one-of-a-kind coins, such as Ms. struck planchets where the blank metal disc is improperly formed, leading to clipped planchets where straight or curved pieces appear to be sliced from the coin's edge, giving the penny a crescent-shaped bite mark that immediately captures collector attention because it proves that the coin was struck on an incomplete blank, something that should never have occurred under normal minting conditions. And even more valuable are double or triple clipped planchets where multiple sections appear cut away, amplifying both rarity and desirability, while other planchet-related errors include improper alloy mixtures that can cause color variations, weight differences, or unusual texture on the coin's surface. And since planchets are supposed to be made to strict specifications, any deviation becomes a valuable anomaly, especially if the coin is authenticated and certified by grading agencies. And another incredibly valuable error found on both the 1972 and 1972 D cents is the off-metal strike, which occurs when a coin is mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime planchet, creating smaller, thinner and lighter pennies that retain the Lincoln design but appear mismatched in size and weight, making them extremely rare and worth massive amounts at auction due to their uniqueness. And sometimes these off-metal strikes can even occur on foreign planchets left in the mint presses, resulting in coins made of incorrect metals or possessing unusual coloration or weight that immediately sets them apart from normal cents. And this combination of rarity and verifiable mint error makes collectors willing to pay staggering sums, sometimes far beyond what anyone might expect for something once worth just 1 cent. And the 1972 D cent also features the potential for rotated dies where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by degrees ranging from slight to extreme, giving the coin a twisted orientation that becomes very desirable, especially when the rotation is dramatic enough to be clearly visible without tools. And such rotational misalignments often occur due to loose die positioning or mechanical malfunction during the striking process, making them both rare and sought after. And when preserved well, these coins can fetch extraordinary values. And let's not forget that the Denver Mint also produced some coins with partial collar strikes, where the coin rim appears only partially formed, creating a warped or unusual edge pattern that collectors love because such coins are instantly recognizable as mint errors, and when combined with other mistakes such as doubling, die breaks, or off-center strikes, the value climbs significantly, creating a scenario where even a penny that traveled through multiple hands unnoticed could secretly hold the value equivalent to a fortune. And in addition to all these physical mint errors, there are also historical and production factors that play into the unbelievable valuations attached to these coins, such as the sheer number of coins struck that year, which means finding a rare error among billions makes the hunt even more thrilling, like searching for a needle in a mountain-sized haystack. and when scarcity reaches this level, the potential value increases dramatically, especially for collectors determined to complete specialized era-themed collections. And beyond scarcity, there is the human fascination with mystery and the idea that something mundane can transform into a priceless treasure simply because it slipped through quality control at precisely the right moment. And these stories drive excitement, bidding wars, and collector enthusiasm, which all contribute to soaring prices, sometimes fueled by competition between elite collectors who want to own the most extraordinary examples of mint errors. And so when we talk about the 1972 and 1972 cents reaching values like 56 million and 41 million, it's not just about the metal or the design or the year, but the perfect storm of rarity, condition, dramatic visual appeal, minting accidents, and collector passion that elevates these coins from pocket change to museum-worthy artifacts commanding jaw-dropping prices that most people would never believe could be attached to a penny. And as you continue watching and exploring the incredible world of rare coins, you'll uncover even more unbelievable stories where errors, mistakes, and accidental anomalies create unimaginable value hidden in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this journey into the amazing history and mystery behind these pennies, make sure you stay connected.